Okay, how you going there, guys? Hope you can hear me loud and clear. Just let me know. Alright. Just slowly get myself organised today. Okay. So we have a few more people still coming in slowly, bit by bit. I assume you can all hear me. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to TradeSetup, and it's a live stream for the 22nd of Jan. G'day, John. How are you, mate? Thanks, buddy. 22nd Jan. So for anyone that's new out there, or could be listening for the first time later on, welcome. We've got our TradeSetup, our Twitter feed in the top left-hand corner, you'll see, Facebook on the right, and in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see on the screen there, just subscribe to us at TradeSetup. We'll be doing a lot more streams later on. It'll be a bit more specific on, a bit more educational based, rather than just a random chat that I get into. So just if you subscribe to that, if you don't have the TradeSetup app, then you'll still get a notification that we're doing something, or we're going to go live doing some streaming. So, and just our general advice warning there in the middle. Now today I haven't really prepared too much today. I haven't got any main topics that I just want to focus on. I'm just going to take a quick look at the banks. We've got obviously the ASX is falling over a bit today, and it's not as strong as what it should have been, what you would have expected after we had a good rally on Thursday night in the US. We didn't do too much, and another good rally when we did open up and then sell off during the session, and then only up a few points on Friday night. So they sort of consolidated their gains in the US, and of course we've rolled over since then. So it's a bit interesting. How you going there? Is it Majid? Welcome, mate. Welcome. Good to see you. So yeah, the US, it looks like we just want to have a bit of a retracement, a bit of a pullback at the moment. So we'll just have a look at that. Just want to take it, obviously, like I said, look at the banks just to see what they're looking like. I mean, it's just everyone is expecting a bit of a rollover. It doesn't matter who you are. We're looking for the US to roll over. Obviously, it's gone too hard. But on the flip side of that coin, there's been a lot of bears out there that have been thinking that for the last 6 months or so, and just missing out on a good little rally, and some great opportunities in the past 6 months or so. Since we popped up from, 59.50 or 56.50, I can't remember those lows, 56.50 I think, on the ASX. Since we popped up from there, there's been some great opportunities, some great runners. So if you were just sitting there being a bit of a bear, waiting for the market to roll over, you've missed a bit of opportunity. So that's why we always sort of try to mention, just look for some quality setups, especially when the market's starting to look a bit stretched. We may be getting opportunity soon on this pullback for another run higher, and we are still looking for that 68 on the weekly basis. We're going to have those, swings and roundabouts on the way, those little speed humps along the way when we get those pullbacks, just to flush out a few people before they potentially rally up. So, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen from here. We'll just have to take a look at that in a second. US, yeah, keep ticking along. Actually, we'll look at the charts. We'll get straight into it. Look at the charts. That's not the charts I'm going to look at. Here we go. So we've got the Dow. That action just keeps grinding high. It's getting a bit vertical, obviously, but trying to preempt that move lower, it's a tough gig. It's not a winning strategy to try and preempt the move lower. It's probably a bit better. Can you see that a bit clearer, guys, on your screen there? Oh, actually, let me just... We're missing the right-hand side, aren't we? I forget about this all the time. No, I want that one, don't I? There you go. That should be a bit better. All right, so you can see the Dow just ticking higher. Didn't close at all-time highs, I think, on Friday. I think the S&P is the one that did. Yeah, just only barely. Look, only barely. High 2807, closed 2810. Yeah. So the broader market, the S&P 500 closed at all-time highs. It is stretched by all accounts. You look at whatever stochastics you look at, RSI, MACD. You'd probably find. Actually, don't know what the two of those are doing, but I'd assume they're a bit stretched at the moment. The market's just been powering higher. Looking at the weekly, it's starting to go more vertical, so things go like that. They tend to, come back down to the old reversion to the mean type trade, and it's getting away from the MAs. So you would expect a bit of a correction there, whether it's happening longer term or we don't know how it's going to play out. But it looks like our market's starting to factor that in. The FTSE isn't looking too bad. I mean, that's had a bit of a cleanup. You let the MAs catch up to it a bit. You can see when it's holding up near these highs through here. Just below, say, 76, it was just sort of bouncing around with their side trade, range trading through there between that and about 7,200. It's about a 400-point range, and then started holding a high low here. And you can see it's been a nice little trend since December last year, just pushing higher to all-time highs. Just corrected a bit the last few days, which is fair enough, but we'll see if we can hold these highs here and then take off again. The DAX is another one that looks quite good. Look at the DAX here. We just look like we've held this high low at, say, below 13,200. And it looks like it's preparing to go. Go to the weekly. That's a major high low around that 12,800 mark, below 13,000. You can see. We just drill that in a bit. Just in here, major high low. Couple that with that daily high low in here. It looks like it's going to power into new all-time highs through that 13,500 level, which is only a few, about 70 points off there now. So it looks like it's ready and raring to go. So just keep an eye on that if you're a bit of a DAX trader. That looks strong. And that looks a lot stronger, as in this price structure, than, say, the Dow. I mean, the Dow and the S&P are getting a bit ahead of themselves. You might find after the earnings, or once we get into earnings season a bit more, a bit of heat might come out of that market. You really do need some heat to come out of that market for new buyers to want to step in. I mean, you only really get the inexperienced stepping in at these levels, I would expect. The pros wouldn't be, unless they're just sort of chipping away, but they'll be fully loaded from previously, I'd say. So I'm not expecting. It's going to run up maybe on thin volume in the US, which, again, could just drag us high, but it's not doing too well for us in the ASX200. Look at us, we've had a good little set-off, a couple of days here, a couple of green candles, or just barely, and then the last few days have been a good sell-off. So what was that? That was from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and again today just looked like we're teetering a bit. It is well and truly into oversold, so it's been, I mean, if you look at it this way, using the stochastics like we do, you're looking for the strength of that sell-off. It's been quite handy, but it's been soaked up. I mean, it's still in a nice little zone to hold a high low on the daily, and the selling's been quite heavy. You can see it's come from overbought to oversold, just being pumped a bit. But it is looking like it's ready to hold above 6,000. It might tip through there. If you go to the weekly, I mean, the weekly, the trend, the high low is just around that 5,900 mark. So, you're still 100 points off that, or just over 100 points off that high low on the weekly. So it could easily hold a high low. A lot of heat's coming to the market. You can see in the daily charts with you selling into oversold territory, but it's in a prime position to hold a high low. That said, anything could happen. It could pop up, build a lower high, and then you get a decent rollover. So if we do hold this level and start popping up, we want to see, I'd love to see an inside high low, because it's just a stronger confirmation that you get this little pop up, pulls back, buyers are willing to support it again, and then that should go through the highs, 61.50, through these highs, and up she goes. If you don't know what I mean, look, I'll just draw it up. We might have a few more new people in here. Let me go to here. Should draw the XJA. What I mean by a high low and why I like them more. All right. So we've got a nice little support zone here. We've got some support through here, say 59.25 to 50. Yeah, so 56.50. So that's a massive, just sort of sideways action, holding lower highs, and bang. We've had one leg up here, bit of a pullback. We've got an inside high low. So this is what we call the inside high low, just off here, and even just in here. So it's inside this major high. So we've got that corrective action, and it's starting to push up out of that corrective action. So if we get that here, so that's our move down. If we get a little pop up, which would be nice, so around that 6,000 mark, and then from there we get a bit of a pullback, and then we get an inside high low, and it's got a nice little. I love those sorts of setups. It just means that you've got that initial pop up, bit of selling pressure, that last sort of ditch selling pressure, and then buyers start to hold it up at high levels, and then they start winning out again and really putting the pressure back on the sellers. and really start driving it higher. And that you would expect to take out the highs at what we're here up just here at 61.50. So there is still, I mean, even though it has been, the thing is, it's quite a decent little sell-off, which is obviously reason to be concerned, but it doesn't mean the structure's changed. I mean, we haven't been confirmed that we're in a bear market. You know, the bears are not going to win out just the last few days, if that's making sense. But it just does mean just tighten the belt a bit. I guess we got stopped out of one the other day, which is a bit of a sad move. But what was it, EPT? And they've actually gone into they've gone into suspension. I think they've changed tickers. So that might have been just that reason why we got stopped out of that. It did take off. We were looking great, up 10%, then boom, straight down. So there's going to become times when you've got the way the current market is. Could be a bit of jitters out there. Yeah, let's start. Everyone's obviously viewing the US has been a bit oversold, and then they're starting to tighten their belts. Any sort of gains, bang, they're going to lock it in straight away rather than let it run a bit. So it's fair enough when you're looking a bit stretched on markets and you're in. Obviously, the ASX is selling off slightly. Having the last few days down, it's going to bring in some sellers, but it's also going to bring it to a level where it could start building, like we said, from the 6,000 mark. There's nothing yet to say what's happening yet. We haven't got any signals just yet. We're happy just to hold our stops in place on the ones we've got. And the ones we have got, SGM, I mean, that trend is well and truly up. We're just holding in here. I'm thinking I've got to stop on the last. So we've had a push up here. We sat on some profit, took a partial exit, I think somewhere just below 16. And then we've locked in on the second half just around 16.50. And I think that's from 14.50 or thereabouts. So that's still looking good. I mean, we're just going to be a contraction here, just a bit of reversion to the mean. We could pick up from here, easily pick up from here. Look at that weekly chart. It's getting a bit extended up at 18. We always mention that level just above 18. It's getting a bit extended up there. So it may just be falling short of that 18.50 mark, but we might get that last-ditch effort spike up there. Bit stretched, you can see by the stochastics. Buyers are really put the pressure on, really pumping it up. Probably time for, you might find that a bit of profits locked in. We don't know, so that's why we're happy just to lock it in at 16.50. Tossing up whether I move that a bit higher, just to lock in a 50 more cents, say, around that 17 mark. But we'll see. We'll just have to probably just leave where it is and see how we go. That's Sims Metal. SGM, looking good. ACX, sorry, what am I talking about? That's, again, that was a cracker. We don't know where we got in. I haven't got my prices up here. My memory's pretty bad. Got in somewhere around, I think, this level just below 495, something like that. Took a partial, obviously, when it gapped up here. Always prudent to do something like that. And now we're just waiting for that further information on that takeover offer from, can never remember who they are. Anyway, not the most important thing, but that takeover offer is a bit higher than where it currently is now at 770. But it just seems to be happy to stick around 770. But yeah, we're tightening the risk up. I think we've got a risk above about around that 725 mark. Let me hold it up because, actually, let me get rid of that. It's just here, isn't it? Risk is at 745. There's no need to risk too much on that. If it's something happens and the general consensus is that it may not go through, there was a bit of fear that it may not go through, I'd rather get out, lock in the last bit of gain and just get stopped out of that than, because I wouldn't expect too much. If it does go through, it's not going to go too much higher. You wouldn't expect anyway. And you would expect a few profit taken and it start filtering through. So you're happy with that one there? BPT, again, we've taken partial on that one. Around that 130, we were locking the rest around that 124, which is just below here, which we teetering on that level at the moment. This one could rally up and get a bit more. You can see the pressure there, the pressure from the sellers. It's really driving it lower, but it's not driving price in conjunction with the stochastics. With the pressure it's being put on from the selling, it's getting soaked up. So anytime you sort of see this, for anyone that's new, the way we use stochastics is more from pressure of selling and buyers than just a pure overbought, oversold. There's no reason to get out when it's overbought. There's no reason to buy into it when it's oversold. You've got to look for your triggers. You still got to look for your confirmation. You've got to look for your price to, give you the ultimate decision whether to get it in or get out. So that's why, but it's a good way to use it where you get this market's trending higher and it gets into that overbought territory. It's more that we want to view that as the pressure's been quite strong. So what's going to happen? You would expect some sort of reaction from the sellers or some profit taking. But when you see it in reverse, the trend's higher, and you got this little ease off the highs, like we got from 140, that pushed down to around 130. The selling pressure we assume is when it goes from overbought to oversold, it's quite heavy, but the price is not. The price is holding up, which means it's some good strength in buying. So that's the way we'd view that one. And BPT, I'm expecting. Oh, I just want to see another little pop high. I think it's been a decent little washout here. If it can hold around that 130, if it can build an inside high low, awesome, and then it can go again, go through 140 and just continue on. I mean, there's no real resistance in the way just up here. You know, you still got some up to around that 170 mark, so probably easy to see here, up towards those highs. Oh, look, we'll just have to see. Either way, we're sitting pretty on this one. Exactly, we got LPD there, Nando. It's actually a bugger. We'll do that in a second. XRO still looking good. Looking for the same sort of price action. We've locked in a gain there, just sort of prudent the way it was going, getting into overbought, locked in some gains, getting up to just past a little minor level just here at 30.60. So we just locked in gains prior to that. It did spike up through, which is okay, a bit of a bummer, but so it's a good sign for a further move higher. You get that spike up through a level without a worry. It doesn't find selling just below that. It actually finds buying into it and through it. That's not a bad sign. Then you get that little retracement like we're probably seeing at the moment, reversion to the means, hold a high low, and then we'd like to see that go again. You can see the stochastic, there's still quite a bit of, I guess, juice left in that move, potentially, that move up. Just have to see how that plays out. Now, LPD, a bummer. I don't like the way it's acting at the moment, to be honest. I'm hoping that it holds up at 6 if we get a bit of a pop-up again. Great if it goes on with it. If it holds up here, then goes on it and spikes higher. But if it spikes and gets a bit of a lower high, not going to be good signs for this one at the moment. But look, that chart's still quite good. It's still holding up. There's no reason why it can't hold this level. It's just the weekly looks like we're getting a bit of divergence there, but we'll have to see. We might be going in longer term contraction. Either way, you've got to give it a go. We gave it a go. It was looking good at one stage when it popped up to 8, and then boom, the next few days it just went up, closed on its high. The next few days selling straight down. So look, there could be some news coming into this, and that is the problem with trading these smaller ones. They can get knocked around a bit, but at the same token, they can give some cracking returns. Oh, we've got our stop around that 5.6 mark, I think. Thinking about lifting that to 5.8 a little bit, just to, if it's going to go through there, it's going to go through in screaming heat, you'd think. So we'll just have to wait and see. What have we got? BLG was a new one. That actually missed that. Someone actually did alert. I think it was last Monday, wasn't it? So it had a bit of a sell-off down to 37. The structure itself is still looking good. Price action is still looking good. You can see it's had this big move up. And then you had a big washout with this move from the highs. Actually, let's just go to... I might as well just draw this up, and I think it's quite a good little chart. So that's your move there. This is a nice little washout, and you can see it's formed a nice high low here. And then we started breaking, so you've got these moves down. You got a little... Well, it's more of a spike there. Spike through, retest the low, started pushing up, went to retest the low, felt high low only on a minor scale, and then we started lifting it and we broke through this level, popped up, pull back, pop up, pull back. So we're in here at the moment, we're a bit of congestion, but we took an inside level here with the emphasis that it's going to move up through 42. Still thinking it's going to go through 42. Still looking good, still the weekly chart's looking really strong, and you can see that move down. There's been some selling pressure, but it's been holding up, and we're starting to come out the other side. So hopefully we're on the right side of it now on this price action. You can see this chop has been holding up through here, holding up higher lows, building some lower highs, and then we got this recent pop up where we got when we entered long at around 40. Did spike up through 40, pull back, but if we can hold a high low here, we've got our stop just below these major high lows. Hold an inside high low, be great. That would show strength in buying. The strength of buyers really starting to win out. And we'd expect to move up through that 43 into new highs. We'll see. That was, what's that one, BLG? That was a new one. And we've got the last one, which was CSL. That's going nicely today. I mean, there's not much to talk about. That's just a nice little continuation trade from 14. 140 bucks, sorry. Nice continuation trade. You can see the market's had a good run up. Bit of a clean out here. you know, from this little spike, clean out these last little buys, probably the buys just through here as well. Maybe clean them out, put them back on the sidelines a bit, and you can see it's only spiking through that lows. You can see just in here and through here as well. Just popped through the lows, started, then popped up. This is the move you want to watch. If we just go to 6 month, this is the important move when you actually I'll draw it up. It's probably the smartest move is just to draw that up. And this is what our trading's based around. Did that work? Yep. It's a big name too. It does some good volume, obviously. 30-something million today. So that was your anchor level just in here for this move up, just of this longer term move up. That was broken here, and so that's going to drag in some selling, and then a little pop up, lower highs holding. Then it washed out that level again, which was good. Just putting people back on the sidelines. But the key really is this inside level at, say, just in here. That's your key level still at the time. So once that's breached, then, I mean, washouts, when it breaks the anchor, it's not a definite sell signal. A lot of the time when it's still in context of the overall trend, it could just be a washout. And we saw that just spiking through the levels. So looking for that buying opportunity. When we got this little pop up, it washed out that anchor level here, which is always important for us. And then the next thing you'd have to see to confirm that the market's starting to turn back up again is that high low. So that's just showing that there's enough people put it back on the sidelines, ready to come back in again with some buying, and then starting to push it back up again. And then we've got another inside level here, which we bought into with another high low, and then we look like we're going on with it now. So it'd be nice if we can get up towards that 15 mark and just punch through there. But anyway, that's about us. That looks good. Any questions just on what we're chatting about while I have a bit of a sip of coffee? How about CIO, if possible to cover? We will do. No problem. All right, guys. We'll take a quick look at the banks. Just see what they're looking like. Just to see how far that maybe this sell-off could go. Whether the banks are going to drag it lower or the big boys are going to drag it lower. But start putting in your codes what you want to have a look at, and we'll get into it. Let's start with ANZ. Go to the weekly. It's mainly the longer term charts that I'm interested in. Look, probably have to take one step back. You can see ANZ. That's a really longer term chart. It's the monthly chart. You can see a good push up. GFC sell off. Then started holding high lows. Again, it's still holding high lows. It's got a major high low at 22 bucks. So just take that into context. So we could be inside that high at 38. So we could be just really contracting within that high, ready to break up again. Or we could be starting to hold some lower highs. This could be a major high, lower high around, what was it, 32.84. So just a touch below 33. Could be a major high low just in here, which could be pretty, sorry, what am I talking about? Major lower high. Major lower high. Putting pressure on the market. We could break through these lows. But you still got to just remember that we've got that the major anchor is around that 22 mark. All right, so going to the weekly does look like it's rolling over, and we could get a bit of selling pressure in here. But just remember that the banks and the bigger stocks can do that and just drag in some sellers and then come and wash them back out again on the move higher, just as we squeeze them back out. And they do it time and time again. You can see these little. I'll just take. I don't like that. I always do that. Here we go, just a tick. So we're talking about washouts. The market does squeeze people out and does these little washouts. So it's what it's doing through here. It's a bit of a sell-off, obviously. Then we've got to move to start going high. As it starts getting extended, you can see that's the major high low. It pops up through the highs, and you're going to get those breakout traders like we've seen just when it's consolidating through here. Just mainly that area there. Actually, we'll just draw that. This level through here, remember it's all part of this one move up. You can see it just sort of bounce around through there, hold some high lows. It's going to drag in some breakout traders just with that pop up, and then bang, you get sold off and they all get squeezed back out of the market. So it tends to do it a bit. And then you got this market, obviously it's pushed up here. You can see the same sort of price action through here. It's popped up, pulled back. It looks like this could be a major high low. Start squeezing back up again. Wash them out with that little move there, and then bang, we're selling off. For the fact if we go through that 28 from ANZ, it looks like we're going to hold. It could be time that we're holding some lower highs, putting pressure on the market. If it gets through 28, you'd expect targeting through 27, and we potentially, we just changed colors, could be that 2 legs down. So we've got one here, tried to pull up, and then potentially we get that secondary move down somewhere, you know, in the 25 range before we start holding and really squeezing out some of those late long positions, putting pressure on them, and then some buyers starting to step in there. But we'll see how that plays out. For me, I'm leaning to the negative side at the moment, but we'll see. Chris, for bank supports for CBA, you can also look at support for COH, will do. All right. NAB looks like it's taken one step further. It looks like it's ready to go through 29, a key level. But again, this is where it's important just to notice what the stochastics is doing. This is why I use stochastics. You can see it's been heavy selling through here. This little move down, and then this little pop up, and it's starting to go through 21. So for me, I would view that more likely than not a bit of a squeeze of 29, squeeze some of those sellers, you know, stopping some shorts into the market and then turn around and squeeze them back out again. It look like it's primed. It's been some heavy selling. Having this set up when you get the stochastics pop high to 50%, for example, but price doesn't go too much higher, that's completely different. That's strength in buying trying to come in, but the selling is really knocking it on the head at lower prices, really starting to pressure them down. But that buying pressure really just in this little move back up to 30 really wasn't strong at all. Not convincing, so we could easily just pop through there and maybe build, but it's just something to keep an eye on if you're thinking about going short. But if you're thinking whether or not you should get out of some longs, it just depends. It depends what your trading strategy is and what your plan is, what your plan for the trade, longer term, shorter term, whatever. I mean, look at this. This is the monthly chart, don't forget. It's still holding high lows in here, so it could just be that squeeze of shorts. You know, bring some shorts into the market, squeeze some late buys out, and then turn around and pop. So just keep an eye on that. That's NAB. Go back to the daily. All the banks at CBA, you can see that pop up through 82 was more of a squeeze of the previous high, and it looks like we're rolling over now. So your key level now is at 78. That anchor. If we just draw that up, just quickly look at the weekly. That to me, it could squeeze down, build a high low, and it could be nice in comparison to. Let's just draw that up then. Because it's got signs either way. I mean, if you're a buyer, okay, fair enough, and it's a longer term buy, that looks good. It still looks good. You just got to take a bit of heat on the trade. But if you're a short term buyer, maybe the heat's going to be too much. But you can see that move down here. You know, each time we popped up, so we just redraw that. Push down, lower high, push down, lower high again in here. But it was a good little correction back up, all the way back down to test that key support at 70. And then we'll hold lower highs through here, another lower high, test it, boom, straight up. And we've got this new move up. Sort of continue to wash out people. Once we got through this high at 86, then we got a bit of a sell-off, lower high. So that's your two moves down that we talk about a lot. So it could be a key high low that's building. We may look like we're rolling over here. We potentially could take out that 78 zone. But what we may do is just, I'm sort of looking at that, if that's the move up here. Just let me draw that. So that's your two moves down here. That's your low. We're at this stage now. We're coming down. If we do continue on down, break 78, I would look for to be a buyer, look for some higher lows to start holding. All right. Just because that could be a prime little position and it could easily squeeze them out. You still got that pressure. It looks like on the shorter time frames, we've got some pressure on the downside, but if it turns around and holds a higher low here, then that longer term time frame looks like it could easily, you know, because it's got the ability to get down towards that 76 mark and hold a higher low, but still hold the overall longer term trend up, if that makes sense. Is it making sense there, guys, on what I'm trying to talk about? You've got the longer term charts, which doesn't look too bad. We're just contracting a bit on itself. Price is just contracting and could be building for a longer term move up, which is going to, I mean, if you bought it around 80, 82, you're going to have to take a bit of heat, but you just got to know what your longer term time frame is. All right, so the daily's not looking great. I'll be short on the daily, but on the weekly, I'll be looking potentially to be going long. So for me, when those sort of two things happen, I'd rather stay out and just watch it for now. Westpac, you know, it's along the same lines as everything else. This is not looking quite as nice as the others. That's looking like it's potentially primed for a bit of a sell-off. But still, the longer term trend's up. You know, we just got that heat coming out of the market here, pop up. That could be a lower high, or we could be just setting up to squeeze some, bring some shorts in the market and squeeze them back out again. But again, it's all got to do with how we go over the next few days. All right, I hope that makes sense just on the banks. I'm not looking at the banks as anything to be really negative about just yet. I think there's probably going to be a heater there, and that would match off with the overall XJO. Maybe bringing some sellers in and then squeezing them back out again and continuing that longer term trend up. So it's one that you just have to keep in mind what's happening with some of these other stocks when you're trying to decide whether to buy or sell. Anyway, now, Austrac v CBA court case, yeah. Hates uncertainty. Yeah, that's true. So it could be just squeezing them out, and then it'll be interesting to see how that goes, how the market reacts to it. I guess there could be just some, with these banks, the way we've seen these price action, okay, they're not obviously not bad. The uncertainties in there, you might be some bigger traders, some bigger punters just easing out of some of the positions, just lighten the load a bit. And then, if it starts heading higher, then they'll re-enter on the way up, or look for an opportunity to load back up again if it does push lower. But we'll see. Okay, let's get through it now. We've got CIO to start there. Connected, 28 grand. So it's quite a thin, small one. That chart looks, obviously, no need to really look at that weekly chart. For me, that's not a nice chart to look at all. It's not doing anything. Going to the daily now. The daily, to be honest, because of the fact that it's got through this level through 2.3 cents. I don't like it as much, and it's kind of the opposite. So you can see the market's had a good little pop up here. Maybe we can just bring in a bit more data. I'll draw it up for you. You don't really want to buy into too many things when they haven't proven themselves. And this at this stage, it hasn't really proven itself. You can see this, it's popping down. It's just taken out the lows a little bit. It's sort of retested this low through here, then popped up. It really didn't take out more of a washout than anything else. And then you can see it's starting to hold lower highs again. And then we're back down again to that same sort of level. It got down to say around 2.2 cents again. And we're just starting to lift. But look at the pressure and that buying. It couldn't get anywhere near that, sort of the anchor to this move down. If that makes sense. The anchor's up here. It's somewhere around, say, 3.4 cents. The pressure's been hard. So the buyers, you look at it this way, the buyers are getting a good hardy crack to push it higher. Just not working out. The sellers are coming in and knocking it down at lower levels. They want to get out. They're stepping down a level to get out. They can't get out. They have to step down another level. So by looking at it, reading it that way, they're antsy to get out. They don't want to be in this stock. Does that make sense? So that's the way I would look at using the stochastics. So for me, if I wanted to buy here, if I was really keen, the one thing I can see, if you just look at it this way, is just that selling. This is probably the most recent breakup. It doesn't mean that just because it's broken up here, doesn't mean that we're going to rally. It could just be a pop-up, consolidate around here, maybe a washout, then bang, we go again. So what you'd want to see just from here, if we just look at this leg just up here, just draw it up. So that's the move down. That's our most recent move up just to here to 3. And we're just backing off 3 now. So, change the color. From here, I'd like to rather see, maybe another go at these lows, but start to hold up. You'd have to see buying strength starting to step into the market. And if they do start to step into the market, then you might have a trade on your hands. But at the moment, not quite there yet. I think there's still a bit of work to do. Maybe a few weeks till you see some buying pressure, or this one, it could just take off. It could be some news, bang, up she goes. We missed the boat. Who cares? Walk to the next one. I'll get onto the next stock. But at the moment, and it's not setting up for a buy just for me at this time. I'd have to see. I want to leave it to somebody else to buy it and take the heat if there's going to be some heat and pressure, and prove to me that why I should be buying it. I hope that makes sense there. Realise that looking history, yeah. No, great. It's good just looking at it anyway, isn't it? Second opinion. Who's to know I'm right or wrong? All All right, what was next? QBE. Let's look at that. Ooh. QBE, what are you thinking of this one? You like it? Yes, looking at this structure, there's no reason just to like it. Well, I don't want to expand on that in a second. I'm not saying if you're going from left of the chart to the right, it looks like it's holding lower highs. There's some pressure on the stock, but in saying that, I'm just going back to the weekly. We'll click on the weekly. The weekly, this has all that potential to be a high low just below 10. So you can see it, and look, there's actually some good signs on this. I think it's early stages still, Nandor, but there's some price action that I like. And this is where, you know, if you can get used to just looking for different things, it just means you can look for early signs and then you can put on the radar rather than missing them. Missing something that's potentially a really, really good mover. So we've had this move down, found some support there, worked its way up, broke that support, you know, broke it again. But it's only broken by only a small amount. And just recently we've had this push up. And that's really a key level through here at the time. We pushed through it. Just struggled once we got through it because you can see that it was just this is a weekly chart. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 weeks in a row. Went straight from low to high. Consolidated around there, started to grind through those highs, took out that high, and then we've retraced. We pulled all the way back again. But there is potential for this to be a high low. And you can see the pressure from the weekly. Okay, that was up quite strong, some good buying, only to get up as far as 11.25, say. But then the selling pressure has been quite strong all the way back down again. You can see the sellers are really starting to hit it. But it looks like from here, even on the weekly chart, it's going to hold up at a high low again. Whether it's right where we are at 10.50, a little bit below that, 10.20, 10.30, who knows? But it's just going that early signs that it's starting to hold up. Buyers are happy to step in above 10 bucks, around 10.20, 10.50, and just soak up that selling pressure. And it looks like the selling pressure has been quite heavy, but the buyers are starting to soak it up. Now you can see that a bit clearer on the daily chart. This is the move down, and you can see gap down, lower high, you know, some heavy selling here, just washing out the low here, then we start to pick up. Now this kind of selling has not been quite as strong, and it's really starting to soak it up a bit. You can see these lower highs forming, but really not getting it down too far. So that for me, that's a good little sign that the buyers are starting to step up to the plate. Who knows just yet? You want it to break through a key level, maybe at 1080, pop up through 1080, pull back to build the high low, and then I think you've got something on your hands because you've got that weekly chart starting to work in your favor as well. If we get a push up through, actually we're just 1080s around here. If we get a little pop up through here, then pull back to build a high low, then that would confirm, or your early stages would confirm the major high low off a daily high low, a shorter term high low. Buyers are starting to step in a bit of force and really starting to lift this price. But I think just by looking at it, still got a lot of work to do yet. Yeah, no, exactly. I think you're onto it though. It's looking like it's got some really good signs there, Nando. QBE, CBA gone. Eve. I'll have a look at that, Clement. How you going, Clement, by the way? Hope you had a good weekend, mate. Whoa. Eve. Two things that spend a lot of time sort of hang around these lows. Now this got some half decent. Oh, there's a few things on this. I do like it and I don't. Longer term, it may be ready to squeeze, but you'll want to see it obviously hold up here. I just want to draw the weekly levels first, just a bit of a weekly commentary. You got the support held here, and we started lifting, held a high low, pop, and then we've come all the way back down again. Basically to retest that. It's not, well, it is probably a higher low. You can say it's a retest of the minor. It's only a higher low by a bugger all of a cent. A portion of a cent, a 0.0 something of a cent. But it looks like it's just held a high low, then bang, up she goes. Went from 0.4 of a cent right up to 3.2 cents. That got rejected, serious rejection. Obviously, you're going to get, after a move like that near vertical, you're going to get some profit taken. You're going to get people just, you can't see the profit staring you in the face there and give it up. Watch it evaporate. So that's always going to happen. So from there, you'd really want to see what's happening from there. And if you've got to go into the daily to see that, if it's going to continue and we're going to get that nice little move up. Definitely showing some signs. Hasn't confirmed just yet. I think your key level at this stage is a move up through that 2.1. These little high. If it moves up through 2.1, then it's showing that buyers are holding higher levels. Buyers are stepping up at higher levels, and then you'd want to look for a chance to get in. If it's done enough work, flushing out a few buyers, so it's flushed out some buyers with that move up. Late buyers just in here that just got ahead of themselves, bought it late to the trend, expecting to see it higher. They've probably been squeezed back out with this move right back down again, watching their profit or watching themselves go into a losing trade, into negative territory. But at the moment, if they're still hanging on, there's some signs that this is starting to lift, and you can see that selling pressure's been quite good, but it's holding up at 1.6. So it is early stages, but it is looking like it's ready to pop up actually. So MAs are up. We're looking like this is going to be a nice little continuation area on the longer term charts for it to hold. Maybe a bit of work to do still, but it's definitely one to have it on the radar. Hey, that makes sense, Clement. Oh, you probably know more than me at the moment. Doing well. Greg, CE1. How you going, Greg, anyway? CE1. I know I've actually got this myself. I don't know if I mentioned it in the previous streams. And I don't know if you've got it, Greg. I might have mentioned this. I can't remember if I sent out an alert. Let me just check. If anyone does know, just let me know. I can't remember what I sent out on this, whether I did or didn't, or whether I just bought it myself. CE. No, it doesn't look like it did. But anyway, I got in somewhere around here at 6 when it started lifting up here. I thought this is going to pop. It didn't. Instead, I've taken a bit of heat the last few months on this, but the reason why I'll sleep with the 5J. Yeah, everyone, congratulations to Greg. He's just had a little boy. I think it's the reverse of me. So he's got an older girl and had a little boy. So he's gonna be struggling with the sleep. Paul would know. How are you doing with yours, Paul? Anyway, starting to find that sleep. It's a rare commodity when you got kids, I think. Anyway, so CE1, that daily is just really starting. That's looking like it can really power on, and I'm obviously quite happy with this at 7 cents now. I think it's going to start targeting that 10-cent range, so just keep an eye on that one. I'm looking for the weekly chart. It's the weekly chart, if you can see, which is the key. You can see the market's moved down. It's holding some high lows, and it's really in here. You can see that little pop up, say from 3 cents, and it just got through 6. Then it's spent a lot of time really, and that you just got to remember, time is always a big factor of when it's holding a high low. If it spends a lot of time holding the level and can't get through it, and the sellers are really giving it a good crack, ooh, unfortunate to hear that, Paul. Sorry about that, mate. They're tough, aren't they? As a bloke, I've got to admit, for our second one, it was easier. He wasn't on the bottle, so for me, it was easy. I just had to pretend I was I was trying to do something and going straight back to sleep. So poor old wife copped it a bit. Yeah, so back to CE1. I'm getting sidetracked easy. That structure there is beautiful. When you see that type of thing that's had that little move up, that's a good little correction. I mean, from the highs up at... Actually, I'll draw this. It's worth talking about. So when you've got this, high, low holding, it had this pop up here, washed out some of this level here, and then held. You can see it held through too, and it was starting to lift again. This little pop up here, pull back, pop up again, pull back. Buyers stepped in a bit earlier here at 3 cents rather than let it get back down to 2. And then you get your subsequent move straight up through these highs. It didn't get through the highs too much, and that's the thing. I mean, it's come from 2 right up to 6 cents. No, so from 3 up to 6 cents. So anyone that's seen this recent price action would expect a deeper correction here. The fact that it doesn't, and it just sort of pops around and holds above 5, is a really nice sign. And it's spent quite a bit of time doing that. So the good part of a month, 2 months, 3 months, I think. Just go to the daily. It's been since, what was it, August last year. So was it August, September, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. getting on 5 months, nearly half a year of just holding around that level. So any of those longer term that people are waiting for it to start rolling over and it starts holding a high low and takes off, they might be caught chasing the tail, and that's what you want to see. So from here, if you take that 3 to 6 and we take the highs at around 5, add 3 cents to it, even, from these lows here, around 2, it's 4 cents, add 4 to that, it's around 9. You could get that blowout to that 10 and we get that 10-cent trade is what we look for. Yeah, exactly. It's a good time to take up futures trading there, Paul. If you're up, you might as well sit on the computer, have a bit of a crack at it. Crack at some currencies, the DAX, the E-mini. Yes, that's good to see. I'm expecting this. I want to see this really kick on. So there's that possibility that it extends and pushes through 10, which would be really nice, which in that case, I'll be taking a bit of profit there. But at the moment, I just want to see how this goes in the next few days. It's really starting to power on. It's showing some really good signs. It's going vertical, so you might find that it gets on ahead of itself, adds a bit of a pullback, and then starts holding a higher level again, and then goes on again. But we'll see how it goes. It's a cracker either way. I'm enjoying it. I hope that helps there, Greg. CBA, yep. Like what should the bottom out? Eve. Yep. All right, looks like we've got through it. Oh. Anything else you want me to take a quick look at, guys? Yeah, you're talking about. I'm guessing you're talking about futures. Futures is a good way to really, if you're into your technicals, you get into it, and you. I mean, what I'm finding, I used to trade futures a lot, and your currencies a lot. They're a tougher, and one that's harder to trade because you obviously don't want to risk too much, and you've got to have tighter stops. So you've got to be willing to get stopped out quite a bit. I've had 3 stop outs in a row, and the 4th one's been profitable enough to get back because you really got tight stops in it, enough to get back those losses and lock in some gains. And it happens a lot. And you might just, the way I trade anyway is trying to find myself, say, in this zone. I might bought it here, on this little breakout here, expecting it to go, get stopped out because I've got a tight stop below this low, then have another crack at it, getting stopped out here, and then have another go at it until it pays off. So if you have a go at it, it's actually a good. Because I'm a big believer in. You've got to be in the market to learn. You can't paper trade. It's all good to learn a bit, but if you want to learn, it's more what you're going to do under pressure and how you're going to react to things. It's a good way of just putting some risk on the line, putting a few dollars at risk. You don't have to put a lot, obviously. And the beauty is when you're trading, say, currencies, futures, FX, that sort of thing, intraday, intraday mainly. There's a lot of ways to trade it without having to worry about risk too much. You're not risking a lot, and you can learn quite quickly. You can learn the intricacies of technicals, and you really start focusing down on what you're good at and what you're not good at. And you start refining your trading techniques because everyone is a lot different. Paul and myself are completely different the way we trade, the way we might look at things. Same with Helen, same with Greg. I guess everyone here, they all have different ways they look at things, different risk tolerances. I know I'm good at entries, but my biggest problem is holding on the gains. Even the other day I was trading, I think the Aussie and the Euro. I think it was the Euro I was trading. I got stopped out my first trade. Then I jumped into the Aussie, the Euro, I think it was, the Euro dollar and the ASX. And both of those two, after I got stopped out, took a loss. Both of those two were profitable, but I gave up way too much. I just didn't hold on to it, and I found an excuse sometimes. You got to do this, you got to do that. I couldn't watch the market, end up getting stopped out, and that's my little problem that I've got to face. I've got to get over. It's just learning to hold it. When you're right, really starting to work it. And I think the Euro trade only took about 6 pips out of it, but it went about 15 or 20 pips, and I only took about 2 pips out of the or 2 points out of the ASX on a move down, and it went another 10. So you can see that those, everyone's going to trade differently. I thought I'd just point that out. I got sidetracked pretty quick there, didn't I? But anyway, I think it's, just having a bit of a dabble in futures. It really, if you're looking to learn more about technicals and try to implement what you're learning, it's a good way to have a go because there's going to be it's a bit harder and you'll pick up a few more techniques quicker and you'll refine your techniques a lot quicker. Stocks can be, I'm not saying easy, but technically a lot easier when you pick the right one. And it's a matter of just going through the stocks, just going bang, 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 bang. But when you look at futures, you may only look at 3 markets consistently. So you tend to find yourself seeing a trade that's not really there and just finding it because you're out of boredom. And I've done that in the past too. So anyway, what do we got? What was next? Hopped into TWE. We'll have a look at that. NAN. Let's go to NAN first. Probably good enough to get... Yeah, that's true, Helen. Just read your comment there. John Nen. Now, daily doesn't look good. Doesn't look too good. And this, because of the spikes lower, I don't like this sort of, and it's sort of that V-shaped recovery. You don't really get too many V-shape, and then you get that selling pressure coming in. You get selling pressure here, that V-shape here, V-shaped here, V-shaped here, or even here. And then maybe it's just one of those things. It's one of those nuances, I guess is the word. Nuances to nanosonics. It has that V-shape and bounces straight. So it's going to keep you on the toes. It's going to be hard to find an entry. So the daily, like I said, doesn't look the best here. It's the weekly that I think I've been looking at that looks really nice. The weekly, yeah, I like it. I like it. I haven't picked out a buy just yet. But I think it's coming out the other end, as in it's washed out a lot of people. Spent a lot of time washing traders out, and it's looking to hold. So you got this nice move up. We've got these little moves down. It's always good to see when you get that. It retests the highs, tries again, builds a lower high, wash out, still holds that trend. So that's your pivot point, whatever you want to call it, and it starts working a nice leg up, pull back, lower high here. It has to go deeper. And that's because probably it's just got ahead of itself, this move up, so it's got to wash out a lot of people. So what we're going to question now is what's happening. And you can see longer term, just by drawing that up, we're contracting. We haven't come out of contraction just yet, as in we're still seeing lower highs and we're seeing high lows. So bulls and bears are fighting it out. You don't know who's going to win just yet. And you want to put yourself, obviously you put this on your radar. You know that looks good. You're looking for that longer term trend to start working its way to the fore again, or buyers starting to really work their way forward and putting pressure on those sellers and start to hold the high lows and wiping out some of those lower highs. With a lower high here and probably a lower high here. So that's, I think, is a good little, contraction with longer term contraction. So this is where I'm probably going to get a bit complicated on what I'm talking about. If you can see what I'm talking about, you've got this longer term contraction here, and we'll just take a step back actually. I'll draw it in a different color. And within that, we'll draw it on the daily. You've got this shorter term contraction. So we could easily pop up, retest up to this high and still hold. Does that make sense? So you can still have a good little buy, but you just got to be wary where you're standing on the longer term time frame. You've got to give yourself every chance. If this is going to hold, there's no reason why it can't just go pop straight up, go into new highs, and away you go. Or it finds some resistance around that 3 mark, up towards the previous highs, longer term highs. Let's go to the daily, and then rolls over again and retest down towards that bottom end of that sort of contraction zone. Does that make sense, guys? If we go to the daily, I just have to move it back. No, that's it. So this is just what we're talking about, the contraction within contraction. I'm starting to make up technical terms now, but don't worry. If it makes sense, it makes sense. So that's your longer term sort of move lower. Oh, I don't know, say it was somewhere around here, longer term contraction. And this is that zone we're just talking about, still holding up, but here, I'm sort of leaning towards a pop up, and I'm leaning towards a taking out there. Then you know that buyers are starting to come in force again, and just seeing how they react up towards those highs, even though they could wash out those highs, like this, wash out the highs, pop up, then roll over. So you just got to be wary of what's happened in the past. If you're going to buy, if you're looking for a buy here, I would rather from here, as we sort of chopped around here, and that's just up at this level here, 280. Then we sort of roll over, pop, we've come straight back up. I would rather see maybe a little contraction here and give myself, I didn't draw that well. Didn't draw that well either. I'd rather see just a bit of a pullback, hold a high, inside higher low, and then pop, up we go. And that could be a nice little entry. You're really minimizing your risk, and then you can take advantage of this little move up to 3 maybe, 305. and then you'll have some profit on the table and just reassess it from there. If it goes through, if it blasts through, gets to 315, starts rolling over, lock in some gains, see what happens. It could just pull back, build a high low, and then pop straight up through this 320 mark or 315 zone and go into new highs, and then on we go. Then we're breaking out of that longer term contraction, and we're starting to just build a new trend higher. All right, I hope that makes sense there, guys. But anyway, Nan, I hope that helped, John. If you've got more questions on it, just send me through an email, mate. That's fine. Paul, TWE. I think we're finished on TWE. And we've got Helen's one, SMI. SM1. I stuffed it up every time. Treasury. There's two little things here, actually. Oh, there's two things here. This is where you can get really, you got your basic technicals, and then you've got your intricacies of your price action that you just got to keep an eye on, which could be, your longer terms. Say we go to the weekly on this one, on TWE. What do we got here? TWE on Friday at 15.22. That's good. Today is 15.93. Yeah, so that longer term trend is definitely up, and that's enough of a correction, which happened in the past, to start bringing some buyers, and it has powered on. You're in a good zone too, so Paul, from a weekly chart, a weekly perspective, done a good little job here. You can see this little pullback, coinciding this move back, held the high lows, come back into a zone which found some strong buying, back to the MA, so it's a reversion to the mean type of trading, and then it's popped up into new high, pull back, high low here, popped up into new high. It's chopped around up here and just sort of grinding through that 16 mark, and we've had a good little pullback here on the weekly, some heavy selling coming in, but it's in that higher zone, higher low territory. Okay, if we go down to the daily chart, see what it's saying on the daily, you can see that move down there. For whatever reason, it was quite strong, just heavy, and it just washed out these levels here. It's a bit different to this one. It's more like this type of move, so we might get a bit of chop here. Just remember on the weekly, it's in a nice little zone for a continuation, but it might just have to do a bit of work like this type of price action back in August last year before it starts blasting higher again. Only because it's just washed out, and this is the only reason I say that, is because it's washed out that little anchor level. Oh, sorry guys, just give me 1 second. It's only because it's washed out this little anchor level through here. I'll take one step back. It's more that with that move down, it's washed it out. So this has the potential to be a lower high, and you get a deeper correction. So what I'd like to, that's why I'm expecting a bit of chop, because the weekly is looking great. It's in a great washout in the weekly charts. I'm expecting more to see. If you can just imagine, that's our support zone through there, and we've popped up here. I would expect, if it's going to pull back, just pull back and start contracting, and then boom. That's what I would expect to see. And just some buyers start to step in above 15, 30, 40, 50, and then start to lift prices up and through those highs at 16.50. Hope that makes sense. Either way, that longer term, you've got high low here, high lows here. This one's just been breached, so it could be that we're going to get a bit of contraction like we've seen here. Just sort of chop around, but buyers are still holding it up longer term, and then we start to pop up from there. But we'll see. All right, that's probably about it there, guys, I guess. SMI, let's just take a quick look for Helen. SM1. It's getting there, Helen. It's getting there ever so slowly. We just sent out an alert on BUB, which I think it's ready to pop up too. So same sort of stuff, isn't it? Right, this charting package, what you're seeing here is Spark. It's like Iris. I think, look, I'm pretty sure you can trade off it. It costs a bit, but it's a good little charting package. You can sort of see all these different charts. You can have a few little filters. You can get the, what the company is, what they do, some last results. I don't know how often this is updated. It gives you a lot of detail into it anyway. But that's Spark. S-P-A-R-K there, Majid. Hope I'm saying your name right there, mate. But yeah, that's Bub. So that one a bit like the other was C. It was SM1, and what do you say, BAL, Bellamy's. Such a dog. It just moves tend to be last 1 to 4, 7 to 11 days here. I will see. All right, guys, we'll probably leave it there. We'll call it a day. Hopefully, sorry, I just saw your comment pop up there. What's stochastic and MA period? So stochastics I use, I've just got an 11 stochastic, 1133. It doesn't matter too much, I guess. You can have a couple. I mean, I've used 2 in the past, you know, a quicker one and a faster, a slower one. I just use 1133 on the stochastics. The moving averages are just 20 and 50. I think they're quite common around it. And then you get the quicker ones. Some people use 8, 10, EMA as well. Some people used, what do you call them? Just a moving average. I forgot the word now. Not exponential, but just the other word. You know what I'm talking about. I've got to find that word. It's going to annoy me. SMA. What's that called again? Oh, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But that's what I use, the 20 and 50 exponential moving averages and stochastics volume. I use the same sort of stuff from intraday, the futures trading as well. It's the same sort of theory. It's the price action is going to be different when you're looking at them. If you're going to have a bit of a squeeze at the intraday stuff, it's just the price action. There's more washouts. They tend to, I mean, it could look set up here, it look beautiful, but you find that the stochastics are saying it's quite overextended here. So you sort of start to assume that it's going to be a washout more than anything else. But when they go, they really start to blast through and you get that pressure. So that's what I use for all my trading. Yeah, simple. Thank you. It's a bit like me. 11 is the days that it looks back, Paul. So with your stochastic, you look at the last 11 days of data and then you move on. So each point it's plotting, it's looking at the last 11 days. And I set it to 11. And I think 3 and 3 is more your smoothing, your fast, your moving averages of the SMA. But mainly the most thing I look at is 11 is your number of days. I think your standard is, if I'm right, is 14, 3 and 3, 14, 5 and 3, something like that on your stochastics. And then some people have 5, 3, 3. So it's a lot faster. I'm not very smooth, Helen. I'm simple. All right. Before you get ahead of yourselves picking on me, I think I'll finish it there. Thanks for joining me, guys. Any questions that you might have or anything that we've covered that you didn't quite understand or you just want a bit more confirmation on it, feel free to send through an email to support@tradesetup.com.au and I'll get back to you there. But until Thursday, we'll be back in on Thursday at 12:30 again. And if there's anything you want to look at, even if it's futures, FX, whatever you want, we'll have a bit of a chat about it. It might be worth just looking at a few currencies just to see what the price action's doing and how to read it and what scales you use. A bit more complicated, but it's always good for to improve your skills. Anyway, thanks very much, guys. We'll speak to you again on Thursday. Enjoy your next few days.